Dichen Lachman opens up about the explosive Severance Season 2 finale and the complex love triangle between Mark, Helly, and Gemma. Dichen Lachman, known for her captivating performance as Gemma and Miss Casey in the Apple TV Plus hit series Severance, recently shared her excitement and anticipation leading up to the much-awaited Season 2 finale. The 43-year-old actress revealed that the final showdown, packed with action and emotional weight, left her eager to see how fans would respond to the dramatic and heart-wrenching conclusion of the season. In an in-depth interview, Lachman reflected on her reaction to reading the script for the finale, admitting that she was completely caught off guard by the twists and turns that the showrunners had in store for the characters. "I think I read episode 10 just before we started filming episode 10 and 7. I just remember being like, oh wow, this is going to be interesting to see the reaction," Lachman shared with a laugh. The actress, whose previous roles in The 100 and Dollhouse have made her a fan favorite in the sci-fi and fantasy genres, said that the emotional complexity of Severance Season 2 was unlike anything she had worked on before. "There's this intense psychological depth to the show that makes it really stand out," Lachman explained. "It's not just about the mystery or the corporate conspiracy, it's about these really human, really painful emotional connections that are at the heart of the story. The love triangle that rocked Season 2. One of the most emotionally charged elements of Season 2 was the evolving love triangle between Mark, Adam Scott, Helly, Britt Lower, and Gemma. The revelation that Gemma, Mark's supposedly deceased wife, was in fact alive and working at Lumen as Miss Casey sent shockwaves through both the characters and the audience. This development not only deepened the emotional stakes but also complicated the romantic dynamic between Mark and Helly, who had grown close over the course of their time in the severed state." Lachman acknowledged how challenging it was to portray the emotional nuances of this complicated situation. "Obviously the fans have spent so much time with Helly R. and Mark S., and so they're invested in that. But after episode 7, they're also hopefully invested in Mark's outie's relationship more as well," she said. "Mark's innie and outie selves have distinctly different emotional lives, which adds another layer of complexity to the love triangle. While Mark's innie developed a meaningful bond with Helly, his outie was still emotionally tethered to Gemma, whom he believed to be dead. It's a really difficult situation," Lachman said thoughtfully. "Are they going to work out a timeshare?" she joked, highlighting the emotional and philosophical dilemma at the heart of Mark's dual life. Exploring the emotional depth of Gemma/Miss Casey. Season 2 gave Lachman the opportunity to explore Gemma/Miss Casey in greater depth, providing more context and backstory for a character who had previously existed in fragmented glimpses and flashbacks. The emotional core of Gemma's story, her identity as both Mark's lost wife and a severed employee at Lumen, added significant emotional weight to the narrative. "It was so wonderful because so much of Gemma for so long had just been little fragments," Lachman said. "To really live in that space and lean into that emotional anchor for Mark, outie Mark, it was really exciting." In Season 1, Miss Casey was depicted as a stoic and emotionally detached wellness counselor, delivering carefully measured therapy sessions to the severed employees. The reveal that Miss Casey was actually Gemma, Mark's beloved wife whom he had grieved for years, recontextualized her seemingly emotionless demeanor. Lachman described the challenge of balancing these two sides of the character, the programmed detachment of Miss Casey and the underlying humanity of Gemma. Miss Casey is programmed to be calm, measured, and emotionless, but Gemma's emotional core is still there underneath the surface, Lachman explained. "There were moments when I had to show glimpses of that buried emotion, a flicker of recognition, a subtle shift in her gaze, to let the audience see that Gemma was still in there." The emotional climax of the season, when Mark's innie realizes the truth about Miss Casey's identity, was one of the most challenging scenes for Lachman to film. "That moment when Mark looks at her and says her name, that was heartbreaking to shoot," she said. "You're talking about a man who's been grieving for years, suddenly being confronted with the reality that the person he lost is not only alive but has been right there in front of him the whole time. It's overwhelming for Mark, and for Gemma too. The pressure of high fan expectations." Lachman admitted that stepping into the expanded role of Gemma/Miss Casey in Season 2 came with significant pressure, particularly given how invested the show's fanbase had become in the characters and their relationships. "It was daunting because I really didn't want to let anybody down," she confessed. "I knew the fans were super invested in the show. I haven't seen people this invested in something for such a long time." The intense scrutiny and theorizing from the fan community added to the challenge. "The attention they pay to every single detail, like zooming into shots and finding little clues, it's wild," Lachman said. "People were analyzing things like the positioning of props, background details, and even the way characters were framed in certain shots. The level of detail that Dan Erickson and the creative team put into the show is incredible, but it also means that you have to be really precise as an actor. Every look, every gesture matters. Lachman expressed her gratitude for the passionate fanbase, acknowledging that their engagement and enthusiasm have been a driving force behind the show's success. "It's amazing to see how much people care about these characters," she said. "I think that's a testament to how well the show is written and how deeply these characters resonate with people." Season 3 and beyond. While Lachman remained tight-lipped about specific details regarding Season 3, she hinted that the next chapter will further explore the fallout from the revelations in Season 2. "We left things on such a huge cliffhanger," she teased. "I can't say much, but I think the fans are going to be blown away by what's coming next." One of the central questions heading into Season 3 is whether Mark and Gemma's relationship can survive the trauma and manipulation they've both endured at the hands of Lumen. "It's not just about them reconnecting as husband and wife," Lachman explained. "It's about figuring out who they are now after everything they've been through. Can they rebuild their life together? Or have they been changed too much by what Lumen did to them?" As for the Mark-Helly dynamic, Lachman suggested that the emotional entanglement between the three characters will only grow more complicated. "Helly and Mark have real feelings for each other, but those feelings exist in the severed state," she noted. "What happens when Mark's innie and outie start to merge? And where does that leave Gemma?" With Severance continuing to captivate audiences and generate buzz, Lachman remains deeply proud to be part of the series. "It's such an incredible experience to work on a show like this," she said. "The writing, the cast, the crew, it's all just top tier."